Belize has always been a land of stories, stories of triumph, of tragedy, and sometimes of mystery that refuses to die. Tonight, we look at one of the most talked about cases in Belize's criminal history, the tale of Jermaine Fuentes, a man linked to murders, hunted by police, rumored to have been killed, and yet claimed by some to be living in the United States. So which is it? Let's walk through the timeline, piece by piece, and discuss the unsolved story of Jermaine Fuentes. To understand Jermaine Fuentes' legacy, we must start with bloodshed. His name first rose to the surface after the murder of well-known street figure, Trigga. Trigga was not just any man. He had connections, allies, and enemies. His killing sent shockwaves through the community, shaking up the fragile balance of power in the streets. But it didn't stop there. Fuentes was quickly tied to other violent incidents, shootings, and ambushes that painted him as more than just another gangster. He became a name spoken with fear, a name whispered in conversations about who would be next. Families of victims demanded justice. The police began watching him closely, and the people on the ground, the ones who knew the streets, started saying that Jermaine Fuentes had crossed a line that he could never come back from. With Trigga dead and other men connected to the underworld also killed, all fingers pointed to Jermaine Fuentes. The Belize Police Department issued bulletins, named him as a wanted man, and launched operations to capture him. But Fuentes was not easy to catch. Every raid came up empty. Every roadblock turned up nothing. Some said he had friends inside the system, warning him before every move. Others believed he was simply that cunning, always one step ahead of the law. He became a ghost, an outlaw figure, the kind of man who seemed to vanish into the night while the police scrambled to keep up. And the longer he stayed on the run, the more the public began to believe. Maybe they'd never catch him alive. Then, whispers began to circulate. Whispers that Jermaine Fuentes had finally been caught, not through an arrest, but through death. Unconfirmed stories spoke of Fuentes being cornered by police, of him being shot, killed, and buried quietly to avoid headlines. Some swore his body had been found. Others claimed a police officer, acting outside the law, had taken justice into his own hands. But here's the strange part. No official records ever confirmed his death. No body was ever publicly shown. No death certificate was filed. For some, this was proof that the police had indeed killed him, but covered it up. For others, it only deepened the mystery. If Fuentes was really gone, why hide it? Just when the story seemed to fade, it took a shocking turn. Reports began surfacing that Jermaine Fuentes was alive, living in the United States. Belizeans abroad claimed they had seen someone who looked exactly like him, blending into U.S. cities. Whispers spread of Fuentes walking the streets of New York, or even Los Angeles. Some said he had taken on a new identity, living quietly in plain sight. Even more surprising were rumors that U.S. authorities had reached out to Belizean police, asking questions about Jermaine Fuentes. If true, this meant that law enforcement outside Belize wasn't convinced he was dead either. The possibility of Fuentes escaping Belize, surviving the hunt, and starting a new life abroad was almost too incredible to believe. But for some, it made more sense than the silence back home. So now we are left with two competing stories. One says Jermaine Fuentes was hunted, killed, and buried by police in Belize, his death erased from the record books. The other says Fuentes escaped, crossed borders, and is alive in the United States, his past catching up to him even from afar. Both versions have their believers. Both versions have their evidence, or their rumors. And both versions keep the mystery alive, year after year. So we ask the question that has haunted Belize for years. Was Jermaine Fuentes killed and secretly buried, his story ending here in Belize? Or is he alive, living under a new name in the United States? Until the truth emerges, the legend of Jermaine Fuentes will remain one of Belize's greatest unsolved stories.